Welcome to Notes from the Not There Yet, a podcast for those navigating life's messy middle. Not lost, not arrived, just not there yet. It's the real stories, real life, and relevant journeys that you can actually relate to. It's for the creatives, the seekers, the doers, and the dreamers. If you've ever asked yourself, is this it or what's next? Then this is the podcast for you. We don't have it all figured out yet, and that's the point. All right, let's dig in. This episode is going to contain some topics that some people may find uncomfortable. I'm going to be discussing body dysmorphia, mental health issues around weight loss, and please know that this is my opinions only, my experience only. If you feel like you need some support in terms of your own personal mental health, please do reach out to a professional. Hello, welcome to the Not There Yet project with me, Bethany Wright. I am here solo today. As you can see, we've got a bit of a two-door sliding door situation going on here, maybe, don't know. But yeah, I'm here today on my own because I wanted to come on and chat to you about what it meant to me 2 weeks ago to run my first ever half marathon. Just to put that into some form of context, running a half marathon for anyone who's from Manchester is like running from Manchester Piccadilly Station to Diggle in the Peak District. For any London listeners, it's like running from, like as the crow fly type thing. So not necessarily, this is what I'm going with. It's like running from London Euston Station to Dagenham, which is insane. And Birmingham, it's like Birmingham New Street Station to Reddit. So basically, it's pretty damn far. And I'm really proud of myself for doing it. I'm really proud of that achievement. And I wanted to come on today to talk about it because I could have just done a social post, but it just felt like there was more to talk to with it. And I wanted to share kind of my journey and how I've got to that point, in the hope that potentially it helps other people know that you can do this. I am not a runner. I am just not a runner. That is not my natural fitness state, if you will. And I have had quite a journey to get to that point. And I think what happened for me when I crossed the finish line, other than actually being unable to apparently find the finish line, which I've got footage of, where I literally was just like turned to my friend Michelle and was like, where do I go? Because I think I was delusional at that point. But what happened when I crossed that finish line was I literally, like, my mum was there and I literally ran into her arms and I broke down in like floods of tears. And to be honest, it was for about probably 2 miles before that I was like stopping myself from crying on my run. And I've like said since the run as well, like, I broke down and like cried like a child. And I've repeated that to quite a few people. And I've been reflecting on kind of saying that, and like why it is that I'm saying that I'm crying like a child when I'm a woman who's 35 years old. And I've realized that actually I was crying like a woman who has gone through years of from when I was a kid, I was bullied, years of self-doubt, years of having to control my food, years of body dysmorphia, eating disorders, mental kind of abuse to myself, and insecurity. And I cried because I'd achieved something that I genuinely never thought I would be able to. I never thought that my body or my mind would have allowed me to do that. And I know it's not a full marathon or a multi-marathon or these crazy marathons that people do, but for me, I never thought that would be possible. And the journey that I've had from who I was as a kid, who loved chocolate, crisps, ice cream. I mean, I still do. But I was a big kid, and I've suffered and struggled with that since I was a child. So yeah, it's just, I never thought I would be able to do that, and I wanted to give it a little bit of credit and airtime and share my story. So as a child, I was a young and happy child, but I came from my parents broke up when I was young, and I struggled with that. I'm not going to go into kind of the nitty-gritty of that, but I did suffer, I think, with kind of being between two homes, and the complexities that comes with that as a child, kind of trying to understand why this has happened. And I very much used food as a crutch and as an emotional kind of support, to the point where I would pinch money out of pots to go and buy sweets and crisps and chippy and chocolate. I ate a massive amount of food. So throughout a day, kind of more so when I'd gone to senior school, secondary school, we'd walk to school in the morning. So I would be able to have kind of my breakfast. I'd then have a snack on the way to school from the shop. I'd then on break eat. I'd then on lunch eat. I'd then have a cake after. I then on the way home would get more food like a chippy. I then have my tea when I get home, and then I try and sneak chocolates and crisps up after my supper. So I was eating so much food, and as you can imagine, just ballooning up and ballooning up and ballooning up. And then the impact on that being at school is, you get the horrible comments from kids. I remember kind of year 8, year 9, like starting to kind of really notice and, want to get to know boys. And it was very much like a no-go. And instead you got jibes and horrible looks and just, the usual crap that kids give you as a fat child. And that went on until I was kind of in year 10 and early year 10. Late year 9, early year 10 it was, sorry. And I remember going with my mum to Tammy Girl. And Tammy Girl, for all us millennial Huns, was like the place to go for your amazing t-shirts with a horrid print on. But that's where everyone went at our age. And I remember going with my mum into Tammy Girl, and we were trying on clothes, and I didn't fit in anything. At that point, I would say I was around a size 16, 18, which for a teenager was big. And I was in Tammy Girl with my mum, and obviously I just was crying my eyes out because I couldn't fit in any of the clothes. And my mum, bless her, didn't understand the extent to which I was eating behind the scenes, and didn't understand how I'd gotten that big. And B, she had lost kind of control of how to support me. And I remember just being in Tammy Go, and yeah, my mum just being like, I've had enough, I can't do this anymore. And my mum at the time was in Slimming World, and she took me to Slimming World as a kind of 13, 14-year-old girl. I think I was 14. And basically was like, please, can you help? Because I can't do this anymore. And typically Slimming World do not take anyone younger than 16 in. But my mum was so desperate that they let me. Thank God. And yeah, I started going to Slimming World, and I went from what was a size, 16, 18 to a girl being able to fit in Tammy Girl, that's for sure. But I was kind of around, I'd say, a size 8. And I lost that weight very quickly. It was kind of over the summer holidays and into kind of year 10, which is why I say end of year 9 into year 10. And I remember then starting to get attention from the boys at school, because all of a sudden I was still always me. Like, I've always been like, the bubbly, happy girl, very chatty. But I was suddenly getting this attention from the boys that I wanted the attention from before. And that felt really weird, because I didn't understand why I wasn't treated the same when I was, fatter to what I was then. So that was kind of like my first memory of kind of really understanding the impact, I would say, that weight has on you as a girl, a woman. And I remember that being really hard, because I just at the time just couldn't understand it. So, but one extreme kind of went to the other. So I think in learning that very young, that, being slim and having that attention when you lose weight, it then became an obsession in a different way. So I went from really being obsessed with eating to actually the complete other way. And sadly, that at times led to me making myself sick. I remember one of the traditions I have with one of my best friends when we were kids was like, we'd go around to hers and have a film and get a takeaway, and then we'd always get a big bag of M&Ms and midget gems or minstrels, and we would eat them all. And I remember a turning point of me doing that and then going home and being sick, or I'd eat some kind of, I'd binge on food then, because I still had that kind of love of food, and I would binge on it, and then I'd make myself get rid of it, basically, because food quickly became the devil, not the comfort, let's say, that it was before. And that, I would say, carried on not for ages, for about six months maybe. And it was only when I was like feeling, I think, particularly bad, if you will, with my weight, that I would do that. But I remember when I was in year, I think it was like 11, 12, I remember fitting into this size 6 skirt that I borrowed off my friend. It was like this pink skirt, and I remember it was a 6, and I fit in it. And oh my God, I was so happy that I'd fit in this size 6 skirt. And, from then, I have always had a very turbulent relationship with my weight. I think as I say, I kind of, the bulimia did stop because I was able to understand that that was not good for me. And when I was around 18, I did start to go to the gym, never really running, but I started to go to the gym and I swam and kind of looked after myself a bit better in that way. But all with this kind of constant now, almost obsession, if you will, with kind of food control and what good foods were and bad foods were for you. And a lot of my education came from Slimming World, which I think Slimming World's a great diet for people that need that support, and definitely not knocking it. It helped me massively. It does give you some understanding, but again, it's still not quite the way in which you should best eat food. And I think I've just always had a turbulent relationship with food since, but the real problem for me that came from, I think, that experience from being so young, from not understanding really the impact properly, if you will, that like losing weight has on you and the perceptions that people can have, especially at that time. And obviously bear in mind all the media and everything that goes on with media, like the women that are portrayed at it around that time, you know, in the kind of early noughties, it was shoved in your face, like the needing to be slim, to be popular. And obviously I almost was like getting that firsthand. I was literally living that. Like all of a sudden I lost this weight and then I was like more attractive and more popular in school from a male perspective. And I think that just played this like game and had an impact on my mind that you need to be slim in order to achieve. You need to be slim in order to get the boys. You needed to be slim to be noticed, to not get the horrible words said or the sniggering behind your back. And that is where my body dysmorphia kind of really started. But I didn't realise that until I was much older. And I still to this day struggle. In fact, as a result of the run, I found it difficult. You know, I've been through, since school, I moved to London and I've had a successful career. I've been in relationships, so I've had kind of, you know, what's deemed as happy weight. When you get in a relationship and you put on a few pounds and, you know, that dynamic and, yeah, there's been that up and down since. But for me, I've always been kind of almost plagued with looking in a mirror and seeing the worst, or having compliments said to me and not being able to accept them, and finding it really uncomfortable, and that still do. So from that point, I would say I was in a relationship with my ex for 8 years, and when that relationship sadly broke up, that was when I realised that I needed to kind of exercise. I needed a healthier way of approaching weight loss at that time, because I didn't want to, well, I was becoming single again. It was, you know, you've got to be attractive, you got to so all these stories were playing in my head, and that's when I actually went to Couch to 5K. You know, the breakup, if you will, weight loss, it wasn't, you know, I wasn't kind of sat crying my eyes out for hours on end and refusing to eat, but I was realising that I wasn't fully happy with the body that I came out of my relationship with and needed to do something about it. So I went to Couch to 5K. I was single, I was free, and yeah, that's where my kind of running journey really started. And it was the best thing I've ever done, because I was able to kind of start to see an impact that that type of exercise really has on you and your body. And then I met my partner Rob, who I'm currently with, and then within that relationship, we both have a passion for well-being and fitness, which I think has further helped in terms of my running. We also decided to go sober nearly 500 days ago as well, which from a kind of mental health perspective has been a roller coaster for sure, but has been helpful and helpful towards that kind of perception. And from there, I kind of really pushed my running. So I was running around 5K. I then signed up for a Santa Dash last Christmas, which I did, which was 5K. I then signed up for the 10K in May, which I trained for, and then signed up for the half marathon in October. The struggles with that have, again, for me, been around food. So when you're training for kind of that level of running, you have to eat. You have to eat. Food is fuel, and food is there to support you when you're doing those kind of long distances. And for me, that has been one of the most difficult areas of the whole process of running, because, as I say, you have to eat the right amount of food and the right amount of calories in order to sustain that level. And it's really made me, again, reflect on my relationship with food and myself and my body, because mentally I've been eating more, and that instantly for me makes me feel like I'm going to put on weight. And that is a really hard pill to swallow, and it has really brought a lot of my feelings around my weight and my body dysmorphia back to the surface. And it's making me right now reflect on all of that kind of pain and torment that I've done to myself over the last, nearly 21 years. And I think coming out of the half marathon and breaking down like I did has been almost that slap in the face that I needed for me to really kind of appreciate what my body is capable of. That food isn't the enemy. Food is your support. Food is the system that helps us keep alive. And that we need to be kind to ourselves. And I need to be kind to myself, because I still do punish myself. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm in the best place, because it's not true. But what I do acknowledge is that we have to eat in order to survive, in order to run, in order to do these things. That who we are is not, that what we look like is not a representation of who we are. That the little Bethany, when she was a little chubby, was still an incredible person, and that no matter what I look like, the value that I give comes from me, not from what I look like. or how many pounds I've lost, or if I've had a good week on Slimming World, or even if I've done a marathon. I am who I am, and I've achieved what I've achieved because of me. And that's why I think in that moment when I didn't finish that run, all of that streamed out of me, and it's still streaming out of me now. And I'm so proud of who I am, what I've done, the steps I've taken. You know, I did that training fully. I used runner and I trained to get to that point. It was hell at the end, but I did that. That was me. I was the one that went to Slimming World with the help of my mum. I'm the one that took myself to London when I was 23 to build a career. I'm the one that gets myself up every morning. And that's what's important for me to remember. So when I'm having those body dysmorphia thoughts, I need to remember that that is not me. That's just the thoughts on my shoulder. And actually, I'm better than those thoughts. So I think what's next? I'm probably going to have to do another one, aren't I? But I'm going to keep running. I'm also going to make sure that with those voices that come and go, I'm going to kind of remember that feeling of when I'd finished my run. And I really wish I could tell, like, little Bethany when she was younger that she'll be okay and that she's going to run a half marathon and she's going to have a better relationship with food than she did when she was younger. That she's going to enjoy being athletic. She's not going to be at the back of the race. Oh God, that I was when I was a kid. That she's going to be sober, that she's going to have a boyfriend who loves her for who she is, that she's going to have a body that takes her to places and do things that she never thought she would, and that that's what's important. So that's my little journey and story. I wanted to share it because I think it's important that we talk openly about what's going on in our heads, especially for women of my era, because I think a lot of us hear the voices in our heads. A lot of us have these pressures on ourselves, especially as we're getting older as well. You know, the wrinkles are coming, the weight is harder, everything's harder, isn't it? Exercising's harder, but we are able to achieve what we set our minds to. And I just hope that if any of this is ringing true to you at all, like, just be kind to yourself. As I say, I never thought that I'd be able to do anything like a half marathon, but I did it, and I'm proud of myself for doing that. And yeah, I hope you, if you're thinking about doing something like this, I can't rave about Couch to 5K enough. And if you're struggling, reach out and talk to someone about it, because we all need to talk about these things to become better and to help look after ourselves better. So yeah, thanks everyone. Speak to you soon.